there was like hedging. What was like delta was hedging with. You can use like delta plus gamma hedging.
Yeah.
Where you like mix both.
Yeah.
And then gamma was talking about how the delta was kind of changing or like sensitivity, I think.
Yeah.
The delta was like price sensitivity.
Yeah, yeah, very good. All right, so basically, in the lecture they list out many other Greeks. Like we know about delta, and today we learn about gamma, right? But beside that, we still have theta, vega, and rho. Okay, and the meaning of each of those Greeks is listed here. So you can look at the slide, and the meaning, the formula is here. Yeah, but I also want to focus more on delta and gamma. Okay. All right. So okay. So remember last week we learned about delta. Yeah, we learned about Black-Scholes model, and even in the up to now, from week 1 until now, what you have learned? We learned about option, right? And then we learned how to price the option, right? Yeah. How many methods, how many models we have learned to price the option? How many models?
Binomial.
Yeah, binomial and Black-Scholes.
Black-Scholes.
Yeah, we learned 2 models. Yeah, and you see from the binomial model, we learn the concept of delta. Right? Delta is basically very simple. It just measure the changes in the option price in response to the changes in stock price. Right? Yeah. So, and last week we covered the exercise that show us what we should do at time 0, time 1, and time 2. Yeah, because the stock price keep changing. Right? Yeah. So first, before we move on to the grammar, I want to ask you, I want you to think why we need to learn about the delta. Yeah, before progressing to gamma, I want you to think why we need to learn about the delta. And then we got the delta hedging strategy. Yeah, so why we need to learn about delta?
Tells us if stock goes like up and down, how we can hedge to offset the risk, right?
Yeah, yeah. So
Measure
our concern,
is it like measure the changes in the price option?
yeah. Then why we need option? Yeah, you are totally correct, right? Delta measure the changes in the option price in response to the stock price changes. Yeah. So why we need option? Yeah, because our friend just say here, the stock price keep moving, right? It keeps moving up and down. Yeah, and we want to hedge against the changes in stock price. Yeah. So we engage in the stock option, right? Yeah. So we purchase, we can buy or sell the stock options, yeah, to protect our portfolio value against the changes in stock price. Okay? Yeah. So, but when we buy the option, buy or sell the option, then we engage in the delta hedging, because once the stock price move, the price of the option also changes. Right? Yeah. So last week we learned about the delta hedging. That means we will adjust the position of our asset to offset the changes in the value of the option due to the changes in the stock. Yeah, yeah. So, but today we will see that if the delta hedging is only effective if the stock price changes by the small amount. Yeah. So you remember from last week exercise, we just assume that the stock price can increase or decrease by $1, which is relatively small amount compared to the original stock price of $100. Yeah. But what happens if the stock price increase or decrease by a larger amount? Then in that case, we show that the delta hedging is not very effective to protect the value of our portfolio. And then that's why we need to know about the gamma hedging. Yeah. So you remember a strategy that involve only delta, involve only one option is called the delta hedging. Yeah. But because the option price doesn't always change linearly with the changes in stock price. That means what it means by the option price change linearly. When something change linearly with the stock price changes, that means if the stock price change by $1, the option price also change by $1. That means the change is linear. Okay, but the option price doesn't change linearly with the stock price changes. Yeah, so if the stock price changes by $1, the option price can change by less than $1 or more than $1. Yeah, so the change is not linear. Okay, so because the change is not linear and it has the curvature form, so that comes the definition of gamma. Gamma measures the rate of change of an option delta in response to the changes in stock price. Okay, so you see, you need to identify the difference between delta and gamma. Delta measures the rate, the changes in option price in response to the changes in stock price. Yeah, but gamma go another step. It measures the rate of change in the delta. Yeah, in response to the changes in stock price. Okay, and then if we engage in if the stock price changes by the large amount, then we need to engage in the delta and gamma hedging strategy. Otherwise, you can call it gamma. Yeah, the full strategy is delta and gamma hedging. Yeah, but in the assignment or in the quiz or in the exam, you can just say it's a gamma hedging strategy. Yeah, to differentiate from the delta hedging strategy. Okay, and how we do that, we're gonna learn that later. Okay. Yeah, so here is the definition of the gamma hedging strategy. Yeah. Okay. So you see here is the summary of the slide of the most important thing we learned this week. Both delta hedging and gamma hedging are used to manage the risk of our portfolio. Yeah, to protect the value of our portfolio against the changes in stock price. Okay, but what the difference? The difference is that the gamma take into the changes in the option delta. Okay, Yeah. So when I keep repeating, if the stock price change by small amount, we can use the delta strategy. But if the stock price varies significantly, we should use the gamma strategy. Okay. Now we will solve the exercise to see how to apply the delta alone and the gamma strategy. Okay, so we have a few exercise today. Yeah, but the first exercise is just calculating all the gamma, theta, and vega here. Yeah, which we already have all the formula here. Okay, you can practice on your own. Okay, because it's just applying put the get the number and apply to the formula. Yeah, you just practicing with your Excel skill. There's nothing fancy here. Okay, and the definition, the meaning of each of these Greeks, theta, vega, and rho, you can refer to the lecture slide. Okay, I don't want to spend time here. Yeah, I want you to focus on the example 2. So can you please right click move or create the copy of the example 2, yeah, and then delete yeah, delete all the numbers. I think we already solved the first part of the problem last week. Yeah, so I need you to reread the question and make sure you understand all these points. Yeah. So last week we assumed that the stock price can increase or decrease by $1 only. Yeah? But this week we assume that in period 2 the stock price can increase to $102. Yeah, that means it increased $3 from 99 to 102. Okay. All right. So please reread the question. Make sure you still remember how to calculate these numbers here. Yeah, we already done that last week. So I don't want to spend time here again. We will move on later. Okay. We will recalculate this later. Yeah. But then before moving on, I want to make sure you really understand this part, because this part only deal with the delta. There's no gamma here. Okay, read the question and tell me which number in these tables or these tables here you not clear of. Okay.